Here's challenge 2. There were kind of like 2 parts to it, the part A and part B. I'm going to do all of it at once. Again, it was 53 degrees, so you'd be putting that in for the angle. This time you had to measure the width, so you were doing this distance here, which should have come out to be about 3 meters. And then to find the height, again, the height is this location here, so this would be our unknown, which is still the opposite. So you would still be finding the opposites. You'd have to use a trig function that has opposite. So your choices are going to be sine and tangent. But this time we don't know the hypotenuse, we know the adjacent. So we're not going to use sine this time. You would want to use tangent. So this time you would be doing tan of the angle, which would be tan of 53. And that would be x over 3. So opposite over adjacent. And then you would go back to the calculator to do that calculation. So I'm just going to slide this over, get rid of that guy. This time you'd be multiplying both sides by 3. So it'd be 3 times tan of 53. Hit enter, and we would get about 4. So you could go ahead and round that to just 4 meters. In part B, you had to find the hypotenuse. So you have 2 options here. You know 2 of the sides of the triangle, so if you'd like to just do Pythagorean theorem, you could. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared, or if you recognize this as a Pythagorean triple, it would be a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So you should be getting a hypotenuse of 5. However, if you wanted to just do a different trig function, you could set up a trig function and find out what x is. So I'm going to move x. I'm going to make x now the hypotenuse. And if this is the hypotenuse, and you could use either of the other sides, let's say that we already know. So we would just have to choose a different trig function, but still using the 53. Because we know opposite and adjacent, you can basically use whatever you'd like. We could make it work. So in this case, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll use the adjacent side. So that would be cosine this time. So cosine of 53 degrees would be the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which is our unknown here. This is where you'd have to do the switching with the calculator. So when you actually go to do the calculation, so this would be 3 divided by cosine of 53, because you're really multiplying both sides by x, and then having to divide both sides by cosine of 53. So this is what the math would look like, because then you're really dividing by cosine. Let's see if I could do this without being painfully slow. You're going to do that on one side, and then you'll do that on the other side. So then on the calculator, you would be doing that, and you'd get about 5 meters.